The philosophy of great thinkers often shocks us and challenges our perceptions of reality. But sometimes it even shocks us more because of how raw, controversial, and uncomfortable it can be. One such shocking view came from one of the darkest minds in philosophy, Arthur Schopenhauer, a philosopher who profoundly influenced Friedrich Nietzsche, but whose thoughts on women and humanity have continued to stir controversy for generations. Schopenhauer, often referred to as a pessimistic genius, once said, "Woman was the second mistake of God." This brutal statement, while attributed to Nietzsche in popular culture, actually belongs to Schopenhauer, and it dives into a deeply uncomfortable yet essential part of his broader philosophical view. But why would a philosopher, someone who deeply analyzed human nature and the universe, hold such an extreme view? And perhaps more critically, what does it say about the deeper aspects of human psychology that we often overlook? Was Schopenhauer's perception a mere reflection of misogyny, or does it point to something darker, something more intricate, hidden within the very nature of human desire, illusion, and weakness? In this video, we're going to explore not just Schopenhauer's view on women, but how this idea shaped not only Nietzsche's philosophy, but also our understanding of human psychology, control, and desire itself. For many people, these ideas may seem archaic, even repulsive, but we must first understand the heart of Schopenhauer's entire philosophy to understand his radical beliefs. In doing so, we'll unlock insights that not only offer a glimpse into his pessimistic view of the world, but might also reflect darker facets of human nature that are still relevant today. Let's first look at the profound pessimism in Schopenhauer's worldview, especially his harsh view of human nature. He believed that life itself is fundamentally about suffering. He argued that all human desire leads to more suffering, as we are never truly satisfied with what we have. This perspective, although extreme, begins to lay the foundation for his view of women. Schopenhauer claimed that women, more than men, were trapped in the illusions of beauty and superficiality. According to him, their desire for validation through appearance and their inherent attachment to illusion were key flaws in their nature. This pessimistic view challenges much of the modern understanding of human psychology. The way we often think about people, particularly women in the world today, doesn't often incorporate these deeper critiques of human desire and illusion. Schopenhauer wasn't necessarily condemning women, but he was pointing to a universal human flaw: the tendency to look outward for validation, for meaning, and for an escape from inner pain. And here's where the philosophy of Nietzsche enters the scene. Nietzsche, Schopenhauer's student, inherited and sharpened his mentor's dark view of human nature. But Nietzsche, as we will see, imagined being trapped in a relentless cycle, where every desire you achieve only gives rise to more hunger, more suffering, more emptiness. This was the dark, suffocating worldview of Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher whose brutal insights into the nature of human desire still send chills down our spines. For Schopenhauer, the very essence of human life was suffering, and every step we take towards satisfaction only leads to more pain. But it wasn't just the universal suffering he saw in humanity. No, Schopenhauer's beliefs went deeper, tearing apart the way we understand the human condition, particularly when it comes to women. And here's where it gets incredibly uncomfortable. He argued that women were inherently trapped in an illusion of beauty, an illusion that constantly fueled their desires and actions, much to the detriment of their true purpose in life. He saw them as victims of illusion, chained by superficial cravings that led to a life of endless dissatisfaction. This radical view of women, one that revels in their supposed weakness, is what has enraged so many. But before you dismiss him as merely a misogynist, take a moment to pause. Could there be more to this view than meets the eye? Could Schopenhauer have been onto something deeper about the nature of human desire, not just for women, but for all of us? Could his idea be a profound reflection of the human condition itself, one that we have ignored for far too long? Schopenhauer wasn't just talking about women. He was talking about a universal flaw that ties us all together, the tendency to seek fulfillment through external validation. For him, women were the perfect example of how human beings, regardless of gender, fall victim to the endless pursuit of external desires, whether it's beauty, status, or power. The tragedy is that we never achieve true satisfaction, no matter what we gain. Every time we reach one goal, another one rises, pulling us deeper into the abyss of endless cravings and suffering. And it's this very suffering that Schopenhauer believed to be the essence of life. But why women? Why did he focus so intensely on them? It's simple, yet profound. Women, for Schopenhauer, represented the very force of nature that keeps this cycle of suffering alive. They are the bearers of life, and as such, they embody the perpetual force that drives us forward into desire, reproduction, and ultimately suffering. In his worldview, they weren't just passive victims. They were active participants in this ceaseless cycle, driven by their desires just as men were, but in a more superficial, distracting way. They were both the cause and the consequence of desire. But here's where it gets even darker. Schopenhauer believed that men and women were both equally enslaved by these forces. Women, however, were more susceptible to the illusion of beauty. According to Schopenhauer, beauty enslaved the mind, leading women into a continuous cycle of craving that, in his eyes, was pointless and futile. Men, in contrast, were driven more by higher pursuits, like wisdom, power, and achievement. But even they were not free from the chains of desire. Is Schopenhauer's view of women harsh? Absolutely. But his criticism of them is merely a symptom of a larger disease, humanity's inability to free itself from the grip of desire. Schopenhauer's philosophy paints a world where no one, not even the most enlightened or powerful, is immune to the endless hunger for more. And that is the ultimate tragedy of his philosophy. We are all trapped, perpetually searching for something outside ourselves, but never truly finding it. So, let's ask ourselves, are we, in the modern world, still caught in the same trap Schopenhauer described centuries ago? Are we still chasing the next external validation, the next high, the next achievement, only to find ourselves empty again? And more importantly, are we aware of how beauty, status, and illusion continue to shape our desires and actions? In this video, we will dive deep into the world of Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, examining the pessimism and despair that underpins their philosophies, and how these two thinkers, though generations apart, both reached the same devastating conclusion about human desire. Stay tuned as we pull back the curtain on the darkest aspects of human nature, revealing the forces that drive us all. The illusion of beauty and desire in contemporary society. As we continue our exploration of Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, it's impossible to ignore one of the most powerful forces that drive human behavior, the illusion of beauty. The concept of beauty has been deeply ingrained in human society for centuries, but it's in today's world, particularly in the era of social media and celebrity culture, that beauty has become a commodity, a standard, and in many ways, the ultimate measure of success. Schopenhauer's dark view of women as trapped in the illusion of beauty seems almost prophetic when we look at how modern society has commodified appearance. In his time, women were seen as victims of their own desires, driven by the superficial need for external validation through their physical appearance. Today, women, and increasingly men, are constantly bombarded with images that tell them that their worth is tied to their beauty. Social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok are filled with carefully curated images, highlighting the lives and bodies of influencers, models, and celebrities. The constant comparison has created an environment where the pressure to look perfect is at an all-time high. But this illusion of beauty is not just limited to physical appearance. It extends to status, lifestyle, and the ever-present desire to appear successful. In a world where we see endless ads and influencers promoting products that promise to make us look better, feel better, and live better, it's easy to see how these ideals become ingrained in our psyche. And yet, despite the perfection that many try to project, the underlying truth is that this beauty, and the success that often comes with it is fleeting. As Schopenhauer pointed out, desire is endless, and satisfaction is always just out of reach. Nietzsche, however, gives us a way to break free from this illusion. Where Schopenhauer saw beauty as the trap that binds us, Nietzsche saw it as a tool that can be used to assert our power. Nietzsche argued that instead of being a passive victim of the world's standards, we could embrace beauty and desire as powerful forces to shape our existence. The will to power, in this context, is not about submission to society's standards, but about mastery over them. Nietzsche challenges us to define beauty on our own terms, not to accept the superficial ideals that are imposed on us. Think about how many of us, today, live our lives based on societal expectations of what beauty is and what success looks like. We chase external validation and measure our worth by how well we match up to the images that flood our feeds. But what happens when we embrace our own version of beauty? When we create our own standards and stop trying to fit into the molds set by society? Nietzsche would argue that in doing so, we assert our power. By transcending the illusion of external beauty, we take control of our own desires, shaping our world and our existence in the way we want. The key to breaking free from the cycle of desire and the illusion of beauty lies in self-definition. The Übermensch, Nietzsche's ideal individual, does not conform to the standards set by society. Instead, they create their own values and desires. This is not about rejecting beauty, but about embracing beauty as a force that empowers us to live authentically, on our own terms. When we stop trying to meet external standards and start defining beauty for ourselves, we can use beauty and all other desires as a tool for self-expression and personal power. So let's ask ourselves, how much of what we desire today is truly ours? How much of our pursuit of beauty and external success is driven by society's standards, and how much is driven by our own inner desires? Nietzsche's philosophy encourages us to question the sources of our desires and to take ownership of them. The more we can define our own desires and act on them, the more we can transcend the cycle of endless wanting and start living according to our own values. Schopenhauer's view of beauty and desire painted a grim picture of human existence, and it's easy to see why. In his time, people were trapped by the illusion of beauty, just as we are today. But Nietzsche offers us an alternative. He challenges us to embrace the power of beauty, to redefine it on our own terms, and to assert our own desires. It is through this act of self-definition and empowerment that we can break free from the cycle of empty pursuit and create a life of meaning and authenticity. So, what is the takeaway? The illusion of beauty is all around us, but we don't have to be slaves to it. By embracing our own desires and creating our own standards of beauty and success, we can assert our power and break free from the endless cycle of external validation. This is the will to power in action, taking control of your life, defining your own values, and using your desires to create the life you truly want. This is the moment of truth. After exploring the dark world of Schopenhauer and the empowering philosophy of Nietzsche, we arrive at a crucial question. What will you do now? How will you embrace your desires, assert your will, and create your own reality? The will to power is not just an abstract concept. It is a call to action, a demand for you to take control of your life and shape your destiny. The world we live in is full of distractions. We are constantly bombarded with external expectations, social pressures, and the false allure of beauty and success. Society tells us who we should be, what we should want, and how we should live. But Nietzsche's philosophy offers us a radical challenge. You are not a slave to these forces. You have the power to define your own desires, create your own values, and live life on your own terms. The will to power is the key to breaking free from the chains of society's expectations. It's about embracing your desires, not as weaknesses or flaws, but as powerful forces that can empower you to live authentically. This is not about mindlessly chasing external validation or following the crowd. It's about taking control of your life and using your desires to fuel your actions. The moment you decide to take responsibility for your desires, you begin the process of self-empowerment. But here's the catch. You can't wait for the perfect moment. There will never be a time when everything is perfectly aligned. There will never be a moment when you have everything figured out. The only moment that matters is right now. The will to power is about taking action today. It's about deciding to make a change, deciding to take responsibility for your life, and deciding to use your desires to create something greater than yourself. This is your call to action. Don't wait for someone else to give you permission to live your life on your terms. Take control of your desires. Embrace the power within you and begin creating the life you've always dreamed of. It's not enough to wish for change or to hope that things will get better. You must act. You must make a decision to step into your power and become the person you were meant to be. This is where the real transformation begins. Every step you take toward embracing your desires, asserting your will, and creating your own values brings you closer to self-mastery. The will to power is not about forcing others to bend to your will. It's about owning your life, making bold decisions, and taking actions that reflect your true self. When you act with purpose, when you embrace your desires instead of being controlled by them, you become the master of your own reality. The road ahead may not always be easy. You will face obstacles, doubts, and fears. But remember, every great journey begins with a single step. The will to power is about having the courage to take that first step, and then the determination to keep moving forward. Don't let the world tell you who you are or what you should want. Define your own path. Live life on your own terms. Now, take a moment to reflect. What do you truly desire? What is it that you want to create in your life? Are you ready to embrace your desires, take control of your life, and assert your will to power? The only way to find out is to take action. In this video, we've explored the complex ideas of Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, two of the most influential thinkers in history. But the most important question is, how will you apply their teachings to your own life? Will you remain a passive observer, or will you step into your power and start creating the life you've always wanted? The time to act is now. Embrace your desires. Take control of your life. Assert your will to power and transform your world. We've covered a lot of ground so far, but now it's time for the most crucial part of this journey. Taking ownership of your desire and shaping your own destiny. After exploring the philosophies of Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, you've learned that desire isn't the enemy. It's the way we engage with desire that either binds us or empowers us. The true path to mastery lies in taking responsibility for your desires, understanding their source, and then using them to create the life you want. Let's be real for a moment. We've all spent time chasing after things that society tells us are important. The perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect image. These are the things we're told will make us happy, but the truth is, they don't. External success may feel good for a moment, but it never lasts. The will to power, however, calls us to dig deeper, to ask ourselves, what do I truly want? Not what society tells me I should want, but what I deeply desire on a personal level. The key to true self-mastery lies in this profound understanding of our own desires. Now let's be clear, self-mastery doesn't mean denying your desires. Nietzsche didn't want us to repress our instincts or pretend they don't exist. On the contrary, he wanted us to embrace them. He believed that desire itself is powerful. It is through embracing our desires and aligning them with our higher purpose that we gain the true power to shape our lives. The journey to becoming the Übermensch, the Overman, is not about suppressing our instincts. It's about transforming those instincts into strengths that help us achieve greatness. Mastery of the self requires awareness. It means acknowledging the forces that drive you and taking responsibility for them. We've all been driven by external influences, whether it's the media, society, or even our upbringing. But Nietzsche challenges us to look deeper. Who are you really? What is it that you truly want beyond the surface-level desires? The first step in this process is self-reflection. Take time to ask yourself, what are my true desires? Do I really want what society tells me I should want? Or am I simply following a path laid out for me by others? Reflect on what truly moves you, what truly drives you. Is it wealth, power, fame, or is it something deeper, something more meaningful like love, creativity, or self-expression? Once you've identified your true desires, the next step is action. Self-mastery is all about doing. It's not enough to simply know what you want. You must take deliberate steps to make it happen. The will to power requires you to take responsibility for your life and to shape your destiny. This is where the power lies, not in passive acceptance, but in active creation. By aligning your desires with your true self and your higher purpose, you gain the power to reshape your reality. But here's the challenge: it won't always be easy. The road to self-mastery requires courage. It requires the strength to go against the grain, to question societal norms, and to live authentically. You will face resistance, both from the outside world and from within yourself. But remember, this resistance is part of the process. It's a test of your commitment to yourself and your desires. Are you willing to face that resistance? Are you willing to embrace your desires and use them to create the life you want? In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, the path to mastery requires clarity. You must be clear on what you truly desire and why. What is your higher purpose? How can you align your desires with this purpose? Once you have clarity, you'll find the strength to push through obstacles and overcome the distractions that stand in your way. Nietzsche believed that human greatness is achieved not by conforming to the expectations of others, but by creating your own values and living according to them. The will to power is the drive to overcome limitations, to assert your own values and desires, and live life on your own terms. The more you align your actions with your desires, the more you will shape your destiny. The path to mastery is not about escaping suffering. It's about embracing suffering and using it to fuel your growth. The will to power is about transforming your challenges, your desires, and your struggles into something powerful, into strength, creativity, and personal power. It's about owning your life, taking full responsibility for who you are, and using your desires to shape the life you want. The time has come to take action. Own your desires, embrace your power, and start living life on your own terms. The path to mastery is yours for the taking. The only question is, will you take it? Transcendence and the mastery of desire. We've now reached the culmination of our exploration. After delving deeply into the philosophies of Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, we are faced with the most profound and transformative question of all. How do we transcend the limitations of desire and reach true mastery over ourselves? We've seen how both Schopenhauer's and Nietzsche's philosophies offer insights into the nature of desire, the forces that drive us, and the ways we can break free from their control. But now, it's time for the final step, transcending these desires and becoming the master of our own fate. Schopenhauer believed that desire was a force that traps us, a force that keeps us enslaved in a never-ending cycle of craving and suffering. He saw human beings as constantly chasing after things that would never bring lasting happiness, always seeking something outside themselves for fulfillment. And in this view, human life was filled with an endless struggle against the forces of desire. Nietzsche, however, challenged this view. While he acknowledged the reality of desire, he didn't see it as something that enslaves us. Instead, he saw it as a tool for transformation, a force that, when embraced and controlled, can lead us to greater power, creativity, and freedom. Nietzsche believed that we were not doomed to be victims of our desires, but rather that we had the power to master them and use them to shape our lives. So, what does transcendence over desire look like? Is it the complete eradication of all wants and needs, as Schopenhauer might suggest? Or is it, as Nietzsche proposes, the embracing and redefining of our desires in a way that empowers us to live authentically, to shape our reality, and to create our own path? Transcendence is not about escaping desire. It is about understanding it, embracing it, and transforming it. It is about moving beyond the idea that we are passive victims of external forces and instead becoming active creators of our own life. Nietzsche's Übermensch, or Overman, is the perfect symbol of this idea. The Übermensch is the individual who has transcended the traditional limitations of society, who has broken free from the constraints that bind most people, and who has embraced their desires as the means to assert their own will. This is the essence of self-mastery. It's not about rejecting desire, but about taking control of it, using it to fuel your growth, and transforming it into something that serves your highest purpose. The will to power is not about becoming a tyrant or a despot. It's about becoming the master of your own desires and shaping your life according to your own values. To transcend desire is to embrace your true self. It means breaking free from the societal expectations that have been imposed upon you and creating your own path. It means rejecting the illusion of external validation, the desire for approval, the desire for recognition, the desire to be seen as successful, and instead, finding fulfillment in being true to yourself and living according to your own terms. Here's where the final step lies: self-empowerment. When you have mastered your desires, when you have taken responsibility for them and shaped them according to your true self, you are free. You are no longer controlled by the whims of society or the pressure to conform. You are free to create your own values, free to define your own success, and free to live a life that is authentic to who you are. The path to transcendence is not easy. It requires courage, strength, and an unshakable commitment to your own truth. You will face resistance, both from the external world and from within yourself. But the key is to embrace that resistance, to use it as fuel for growth, and to keep moving forward. The more you transcend your desires, the more you will gain control over your life and your future. So, take a moment to reflect. Are you ready to transcend the limitations of desire? Are you ready to embrace your true self and become the master of your own fate? The journey to transcendence begins with a single step: the decision to take control of your desires, define your own values, and live life on your own terms. The power is yours. The will to power is the key to unlocking your full potential. And as you move forward on this journey, remember that transcendence is not about escaping life's challenges. It's about embracing them, transforming them into opportunities, and using them to create a life of authenticity, freedom, and empowerment. The time for transcendence is now. Embrace your desires, master your will, and create the life you were always meant to live. A life of meaning, creativity, and freedom. So, as you move forward from this video, I challenge you. Step into your power. Embrace your desires, and start creating the life you've always dreamed of. You are the architect of your own fate, and the power to shape your destiny is in your hands.